Back on Get Up, and former Patriot quarterback Tom Brady, as you well know, won his 7th Super Bowl in his first season in Tampa, while his former team, the Patriots, and his former coach Bill Belichick failed to make the playoffs. But after a disappointing season, listen to our Louis Riddick issuing this warning.
This in the playoffs, seeing Tom win the Super Bowl, having people doubt him now, not having a franchise quarterback under contract, people saying, well, it was more Tom than it was you, and that whole damn debate. I don't care how many Super Bowls he's been to or how many he has won. I promise you, he is sitting somewhere right now going, okay. But I would bet he has now, this year, I'll bet he comes out firing in a way you haven't seen in a long time.
All right, so we hear you there, Louis Riddick, and a reminder that Louis played for Bill Belichick in Cleveland, so you know of what you speak. But so let's use the term scorched earth tour. That became our term last year for Aaron Rodgers after they drafted the quarterback, and we turned out to be right on that one. Sounds to me like you're anticipating a scorched earth tour for Bill in New England this year. But the question, Louis, is who's his quarterback going to be?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's first and foremost, Greeny, what he's going to have to address. But the reason why I made those comments was this. Having talked to him twice this past year for Monday Night Football and on those production calls, I can just tell you this. The frustration was palpable. I mean, it came through on those Zoom calls in a way that you could feel just how frustrated he was. That one, he knew that he was kind of undermanned as far as his football team and the weapons that he had, that he couldn't do the things that he was used to doing. He couldn't get his team to play at a consistently high level like he was used to doing. And you could tell that it frustrated him. And you could just tell, and you knew that come this offseason, given the fact that they're going to have upwards of $70 million in cap space, he's going to have some freedom to now go out and get some of the parts that he needs, starting with quarterback, moving on to getting more explosive on the perimeter as far as their ability to strike down the football field, getting more pass rushers, getting bigger up front, where he has always invested on defense, getting more playmakers at linebacker. I'm just telling you, you know he's motivated. He's one of the best coaches of all time, if not the very best coach of all time, in my opinion. And he has now the means with which to address these situations for his football team. He's not going to take this past year just sitting down and go, you know what, I had my time. The guy's coming back with a vengeance, and I can't wait to see it unfold.
Once again, we will call it the Scorched Earth Tour. It worked for us once before. It'll work for us again. But, Jeff, the really big question is, Jeff Dolington, who are his options? Who could his quarterback be?
Well, again, Greeny, I'm not trying to deflect around your question, but to me, that's the reason why this Scorched Earth Tour comes with questions. You can't go on a tour without a lead singer. And I just don't think that the Patriots know what direction exactly they're going yet. And when they do figure it out, I think we can have this conversation again. I understand his motivation. I understand his brilliance. But we are now in a league where Sean McVay, the prodigy wonder child of the NFL, sent his quarterback packing. Jared Goff wasn't good enough to succeed in what he believes he needs. The quarterback position has never been more important than it is right now. Andy Reid, his brilliant career, took until 2 years ago because he had Patrick Mahomes. Until Bill Belichick addresses the quarterback position, I just don't see how we can assume that he will be successful in 2021, despite the fact that I still want to say I agree with everything Louis Riddick usually says.
Well, so to the point. So, Louis, you played for Bill Belichick. Mike T., you worked with Bill Belichick, and you have, in fact, sauna'd with the man. So I would ask you that. If he is right now sitting somewhere in a schwitz, he's sitting there right now, what do you think he is contemplating? What do you think makes sense to anticipate for him doing at quarterback, maybe a 1-2 punch?
Yeah, I just learned a new verb, so thank you. If you do an autopsy of what Bill Belichick looks for at quarterbacks, processing information and intelligence is number one. Tom Brady, Jacoby Brissett, Brian Hoyer, Jimmy Garoppolo, they're all smart quarterbacks. So if you look at that through the lens of what he may do going forward, I look at maybe signing a veteran like Ryan Fitzpatrick, maybe trying to acquire Marcus Mariota, and then also going after someone like Mac Jones. It's the old Bill Belichick, Nick Saban connection. Bill Belichick's drafted 10 players that Nick Saban has coached. I don't think he'd be there at 15. I think he would have to go up there to above 8 to get them. But as Jeff and Louis alluded to, I think he's going to be super aggressive. And one other thing that's worth noting here, Greeny, is that no team had more opt-outs than New England did last year. They had 8 of them. So they're already off to a great offseason by getting back a lot of good players, most notably someone like Dante Hightower. So don't write them off yet. Bill Belichick is coming back, and I do think they are going to attack the quarterback position.
Oh, yes. I mean, right off Bill Belichick at your own peril. Of that, there seems to be no question. But with him in mind, because you guys know him so well, I did want to put this quote up. So Cam Newton, in a fascinating interview in which he said a lot of different things, one of the things he said was, I think Bill Belichick is the most misunderstood person in all of sports. He is dope as blank, and I'll let you guess what the final word there is. And so, Lewis, I will just ask you, again, having played for him, and I can't believe I'm asking this, but how dope is Bill Belichick?
Look, I think I've seen more of that side of him now than I did when I was playing for him. Because look, when I was playing for him, Bill was just kind of really cutting his teeth, so to speak, as a head coach. And look, he's a taskmaster. He's the taskmaster of all taskmasters, man. And he didn't have a lot of time for, a lot of dopeness, so to speak. But I'll say this: when you talk to him now, he is much more open to really sharing and letting you in on, like, how he feels personally, how he feels philosophically, letting his emotions show. And in the times that he did loosen up when we were in Cleveland, he is a guy who does have a sense of humor. Look, he likes to talk about the same things that we all like to talk about as guys when we all get together and just chopping it up. He is no different than the rest of us, man. Okay, he's no different than the rest of us. So I think what Cam is saying is, look.
Lewis, when our staff tried to find something that we could quantify as Bill Belichick video being dope, this is what we came up with. The dopest thing we know of is that his dog is sitting there on draft night in front of the zoo. That's what qualifies as dope.
See, but you know what? What that's showing you though is that the guy, he does have a sense of humor. He's aware of how people look at him, man. It's like this robot, this transformer, this Terminator who has no feelings. He knows exactly what people are saying, man. He's very aware of what's going on, and he plays into it. He plays into it. But when you get to talk to him now, the guy is actually kind of funny, man. I'm just telling you.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I'm at a post-game Patriots Super Bowl party. Julian Edelman is spraying people with champagne. He goes over to Bill Belichick with the champagne bottle to spray him. Danny Amendola goes, "You can't do that." Julian Edelman says, "What's he going to do, fire me?" And Danny Amendola looks at him and says, "Yes, Bill Belichick is not dope. He is a football coach. That is what he is."
Is that true? Again, as a man who has sauntered, there's only one of us in this conversation who has sat in a schwitz with Bill Belichick, and that's you, Mike Tannenbaum. Yes or no? Answer the question. Is he dope or not dope?
Oh, there's some dopeness about him, so I wish he'd have to list on him, but
and listen, if you wouldn't know,
there's
some dopeness about him.
Yes, Mike Tannenbaum is my vice president of dope. Okay, let me run the floor here as we continue. Let's look back at last night's very interesting night in the NBA, and it begins with Luka and the Mavs facing again in the upper hand. He had 21. Dallas led the whole way. Tim Hardaway Jr. added 29. Dallas is hot. They win at 102-92. But no one is as hot as the Utah Jazz, the biggest story in the sport. Taking on the Hornets yesterday, simply could not be stopped on offense. As a team, they made 28 three-pointers. That's a franchise record. Joe Ingles and George Niang each had 7 threes, and Utah won it 132-110. And as we showed you earlier, LeBron and the Lakers struggling since Anthony Davis went down. Facing the Wizards at home last night, they blew a 17-point lead in the second half, and Bradley Beal put them away in overtime. Beal had 33. Wizards win it 127-124. Lakers have lost 3 straight. We will be back with the dopest dog in sports. That's Bill Belichick's dog. If he's not dope, I ask you, who is?